What is going on, everybody? Welcome to Dylan Talks Tone. Welcome to the Just Gonna Say It podcast. It is Tuesday afternoon. I hope you all are having a great week so far. We're going to talk about DIY stuff with guitar. Been doing these videos about soldering and making pickups and all that kind of stuff. And so I figured we would kind of talk about it a little bit more. If you have questions about any of this stuff or ideas for videos on it or whatever, get in the comments, blow it up, and let's have some fun with it. The other thing is I want to mention too is that this podcast is actually a podcast. So we do it live, obviously, so that we can have you in the comments and hang out. But we also upload these to all of the major podcast platforms afterwards. So they end up becoming a regular audio podcast, Spotify, iTunes, all that stuff. And also YouTube has just apparently rolled out their own. And so we added the entire back catalog of this podcast to the YouTube podcast platform. I don't know what it looks like. I don't know where you find it. I don't know many details about it. They just shared it with me yesterday. So I wanted to share that with you as well. The other thing is we have our exclusive cable with Runway Audio is actually on the website. So you can get that. And I've got some other cool stuff coming from Runway Audio for our website too. We have a bunch of new stuff at Dylan Talks Tone that I want to tell you about real quick. Excuse me. We have Lizard Spit back on the website. So we have polish and nut graphite and some guitar polish for nitrocellulose finishes, urethane finishes, satin finish polish specifically, fretboard oil, fret polishing kits, because I love those things, all on the website again. So you can go to Dylan Talks Tone and pick that stuff up. The other thing we have, it's huge for us, we actually shipped a bunch of it this morning, is we are now providing flat work and magnets. For those of you, since we're talking about DIY stuff today, I might as well tell you right off the get that we are doing that. And it's fairly limited right now, just Strat and Telly stuff, but we are going to probably expand that as time goes on. So just keep checking back at Dylan Talks Tone. And of course, all the electronic parts too. So switches and caps and pots and all that kind of stuff. All your DIY needs that you can have, that you might need. Of course, we have a couple new t-shirts on the website as well. So I just want to mention that to you. Yeah. So I guess we'll talk about some DIY stuff. Let's just run through. Somebody already said way more than you think. It does. How much do you value your time? Yeah, exactly. I forgot about DIY on labor like soldering. That is a money saver big time, and you can do tons of creative stuff. Yeah, it's kind of a give and take, right? What kind of inspired this? There's always one person, right? And I don't mean to bring these people up as a negative, but just as a thought-provoking thing. Somebody in the comments on my video yesterday was like, so what I need to do is spend $400 on a machine and do all this stuff and buy all these parts. All I want to do, I don't want to get into it any deeper than wire, and I want to do everything else myself. Well, okay. You're going to need wire. You're going to need magnets. So you got to buy magnets. And you're going to need bobbin material of some sort. And then you're going to need tooling to make that if you don't make that. I can tell you from very recent experience how many hours it takes I have a laser and I can do it quickly, and it still takes hours to get everything kind of prepared, right? So there is a lot of kind of talking about all this stuff and not talking about it, but cost counting in many different ways. So before we get, because we don't want this, this is not a negative thing at all. People are already commenting on it. I can see that Jonathan says he likes the learning part of DIY. Is a bass plate on a Strat pickup worth it? It depends. What do you want your guitar to sound like? If you want it to sound like more like a Tele, then put a piece of metal on the bottom of your pickup. Here's the question, because guitar players do this all the time. So let's just get this out of the way. Do not make this into something it's not. Okay. Do not make DIY stuff into, there's a cheaper way to do it. I can do it cheaper. This is not about that. Okay. If you're doing it to be cheap, we aren't talking about that today. Okay. Because I personally don't know how to identify with that. I'm just going to say this right now. I don't identify with the whole mindset of I have to figure out how to do it the cheapest way possible. There's a couple reasons for that. One, I want my stuff to work. Two, I want to be able to enjoy it, and I want it to be a quality product. Three, I do this for fun. Anything that I do for fun, I don't cheap out on. Why? Because it's not fun if I have to cheap out on it. If I can't afford a hobby, I don't do it. If I can, if I need to save up for it or whatever, I want to enjoy the thing I want to enjoy. So if you're here to enjoy guitars, don't be a cheap ass. End of story. Okay. But here's the goals, right? There's a couple different goals that we have when we're doing DIY stuff. One is, what do you enjoy about the guitar hobby? Somebody already mentioned it. Doing mods. I love it too. I love taking an inexpensive guitar or something that I don't care. I'll do it with an expensive guitar. It doesn't matter to me. Taking it apart and putting it back together, upgrading stuff and learning what it takes to make the stuff go, right? And it's not necessarily making anything better. I think people have they focus too much on better and worse and focus on changing. I don't know about you, but there's only a couple of flavors of ice cream that I don't like. Okay. I like almost all flavors of ice cream. Remember that Superman ice cream a long time ago? Like when I was a kid, I hated that. I think that's nasty. I don't like pistachio ice cream and anything green. I don't like, I've heard of avocado ice cream. There's a few flavors of ice cream that I don't like. Okay. But that doesn't mean that all the other ones, it's not better or worse. It's just, I want a different flavor. Sometimes I want butter pecan. Sometimes I want salted caramel. Right now, I just finished some peanut butter cup something, right? All wildly different flavors. Therefore, I want to try them all. To me, that's what guitar is. It is not about better or worse. We don't need to worry about making our guitar better. We don't need to worry about, is this better tone? That's up to you and how you play the guitar. But when we modify a guitar, it's all about learning. Really, that's one of the goals. Obviously, there is improving a guitar that has deficiencies, but that shouldn't, in my opinion anyway, shouldn't be the reason that we DIY stuff. Because if you're trying to get to a certain point with something, there's a lot of investment that goes into that. Okay. There's a lot of investment that goes into that. Avocado ice cream rocks. Yeah, I'm not into it, man. Cheap is good for testing. No, inexpensive is good for testing. There's a difference between cheap and inexpensive. Okay. Words matter. Words matter. Inexpensive is good. Cheap is not good. Cheap is a mindset. Inexpensive is a state of cost. So what are you trying to do? Is your goal to enjoy the modding the guitar, making the thing better, that sort of thing? There's no wrong answer in this. So when it comes to DIY in the guitar hobby, what is your goal? I guess get in the comments and tell us. Because this is fun. This is fun to learn about from everybody. When we think about all the stuff we do at Dylan Talks Tone, it's all about DIY, right? We were just talking about all these parts. I encourage it. I think it's great. However, if you're going to try to do it to save some sort of money, well, don't come to Dylan Talks Tone for that. We sell premium products here, so you're going to get good stuff. Is there a cheaper way to do it than coming in Dylan Talks Tone? Probably. Is there a better way? I suppose. Do I have 100% confidence in the products that we sell to make sure that you get a quality experience? Absolutely. If we get it wrong, like I did with Scott the other day, then we fix it and we make it right. I sent him a pickup and I don't know what happened. Maybe something's touching on the inside and so I'm making him a new one. You know what I mean? When you have a problem, you just have a problem and you fix it. But it's really, really important that the reason we do this is to enjoy it. I did a little modding to my guitar. Expensive custom shop Strat. Replaced pickups and saddles. It's mine, and it now sounds as my dream Strat. Yeah, super fun. See, that's the thing. And you're not afraid to work on your guitar. This is a thing. I think you shouldn't be afraid to work on your guitar. I think there's nothing you can really break on an instrument that can't be fixed. People worry about like messing up nuts, messing up saddles. Those are all very replaceable parts, right? Worst case scenario, you got to pay somebody $75 to fix it for you. But the risk of having to do that, I think it's great. I think taking that risk and learning is awesome. The goal is to usually see if I can do it. I love that. Can I do it? I'm not sure. I'm going to try. Just trying to try is very, very cool. No, I absolutely love that. Yes. Inexpensive is what I buy. Cheap is what I am. Yeah, that's a mindset I just don't identify with. I never have. Even, it doesn't. And I think people mistake budget with the need to be cheap. I think I have never been cheap, even when I had nothing, even less than I have now. But that is what kept me moving forward. Because I'm not happy with that mindset. I always want to be improving everything. And so I think that's super important. So let's talk about costs. Cost of parts. Parts are expensive. Good parts are expensive. One of the things that I see people dealing with, causing problems for themselves with, is buying cheap parts to make their guitars better. So many people, I want to put new pickups in my guitar. I want to do this. So I'm going to try Guitar Fetish. You're going backwards. If you're trying to be cheap to mod a guitar. Now, if you're trying to learn something, that's cool. But if you're trying to actually improve the quality of your instrument, don't cheap out on parts. Music Lily tuners are Music Lily tuners. They suck in comparison to things that actually work properly, like Gotos and Shalers and any number of brand name tuners, Grovers, and all of those things are way better than any of that stuff you can find on Amazon. So many times I see people wanting to DIY stuff on their guitars to make improvements, and they're going backwards. And so just think about the cost of parts. And what I would say is, don't make excuses for the parts. Get the best parts that you can. And if it is within your patience, not means, patience, to wait until you can get some good quality parts, it will change your life. If you've never tried Hipshot tuners before, save up for some Hipshot tuners and buy some Hipshot tuners. If you've never tried Dylan pickups before and you've been using GFS stuff, save up your money and buy some, even if it's not for me, I don't care. Lawlers, anybody. proper pickups, proper tuners, not this Amazon stuff, like really, really good stuff. It will make a difference. You will go, oh, now I see what they were talking about. Now I see what all these people are talking about. It'll make a difference for you. Let's see. That's why I bought a Squire Affinity. If I screwed up learning to work on it, it's not a break the bank item. Yeah, having a fun guitar like that around is fun. I don't have anything like that right now. I need to get one. One misconception that people have is that Chinese products are all cheap, when in fact they are manufactured good quality components if you're willing to pay the price. Yeah, except that the problem with that is that it's very, if you go with all of these parts, so take Amazon, Guitar Fetish, all these very small, all these very cheap parts, it's really hard. So let's talk about investment. It's our cost of parts. It's very difficult to filter through those things. How many times, and this could be in guitar stuff, this could be in not guitar stuff, I'm dealing with this right now. So this might be the pot calling the kettle black a little bit. I'm just going to tell you, I bought a hat press. I made this hat with it, cut this leather on the laser and made this hat press. On my hat press. I bought this hat press. It's a Chinese piece of crap. Should have spent twice as much money. Now I've got to deal with, I might eat it because the customer service is so terrible that now I might have this crappy piece of hat press sitting in my garage because they won't take a return on it. So then I waste that $150 and now I have to go spend $300 on a new one. The same thing can happen. And so there's nothing against, I'm not talking about any particular nationality of person or any attacking anybody like that. It's not about that. It's about, we are inundated with such a volume of parts from China in various ways. So Amazon and Guitar Fetish are the first two that come to mind, but or any of the Alibaba stuff or any of the, all that stuff. It's really hard to filter through that. And what I have found, my experience has been, because I've bought more parts than the average person over the years, is that you buy 3 or 4 until you find the good one. Because they kind of all look the same, but then they're not, like you're saying. There is good stuff out there, but the headache that you have to invest in that, you might as well have just bought a set of hip shots, because you order something from Amazon, and you're like, well, you put it on your guitar and you're like, wow, this is kind of crappy. Can I live with it? No, I really want something better. Okay, well, let me try something else. Or you spend hours in a forum with a bunch of cheap asses who are like, this is the best cheap thing. And so you take that gamble when really you could have just not wasted your time and bought a set of hip shots. And I'm not endorsing any one brand of tuner. I'm just saying any known quantity, Grovers, Shalers, hip shots, Spurzels, anything that is a known quantity, Clusen, that you can trust. I think people that try to save money on that stuff instead of just invest in the good stuff in the long run end up with more time and headache invested in it than if they would have just bought something good. That's the trick. That's why I buy Harley Benton's. I don't mind making mistakes learning on them. Yeah, having good learning guitars around, that's what I think those guitars are good for. I really do. I think that's, and of course, anybody whose budget that fits in general, I think that's what those things are great for. Modifying inexpensive instruments is amazing. I just think that you really need to give some thought to what you are putting on the guitar. Now, here's something too. I try to encourage people to don't be afraid to put cool parts on a cheap guitar. Don't be afraid to do that. You know, it's not worth it. Nothing's worth it, really. Like, you know what I mean? Somebody said something about resale. Like, nothing's really worth it. So just do what you want and enjoy it. But just don't worry about it. And you could take the stuff back off and throw the guitar away and get something else. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, it's super cool. Um, let's see. Um, then the other thing we should talk about, cost of parts. We've talked about cost of quality parts. We've kind of talked about time. So, when you're learning, so this kind of comes into play when you're dealing with something that takes a skill, right? So, fret work, making pickups, setups and stuff you can learn in a fairly reasonable amount of time, right? And you can get fairly proficient at doing a setup on a guitar because it's a fairly mechanical thing. You can measure everything, you know what I mean? And it can be pretty easy. The things that take a feel, doing fret work, and making pickups are the things that come to mind the most. If there's anything else you think of, get in the comments and say. Those are things that you really kind of have to go, okay, is it worth my time? Right? Like, and this could be different for everybody. I mean, again, and also, am I doing it for the joy of learning it? Am I doing it for the joy of like just chilling out? Like, I know a lot of people, for example, don't like changing strings. I love changing strings. I would put new strings on all of my guitars every week. It's not practical, so I don't, but I love changing strings. I will throw something on Netflix or something on YouTube and just sit here and change strings and clean the fretboard, Lizard Spray fretboard oil, link in the description, and do all the things and just kind of like spiff up the guitar, and it's like therapy for me, like almost like a therapeutic thing to like sit here and just tinker with the guitar and put strings on it and stuff. And I really, really enjoy that. So if that's something for you and you enjoy spending the time doing the thing, I sharpen knives the same way, I'll sit and just grab a knife off the wall and this needs a little touching up, and I'll sit here and it's like, just a mindless therapy sort of thing for me to set up a guitar or to sharpen a knife or whatever, that's kind of my thing. So if you have that time and if you, enjoy that, then by all means, I encourage everybody to buy some pickup parts, buy a winder, and try it. I mean, really, I really do. I'm genuine about that. I think you really should, because it does also, when you learn to do these things yourself, you even come to one of our workshops and learn how to wind pickups, or go to Texas Toast and learn how to wind or build a guitar. I know there's a few folks in the chat that have done that, and they'll tell you, and the appreciation that you have for how much work goes into this stuff. To a man, every person who has ever learned how to wind pickups from me has said, I will never complain about how much they cost again, because now I know what it actually takes to do it. So it really does build an appreciation for what goes into the guitar, right? So I think that's another thing about DIY stuff. Like, there's going to be the ultra cheap people that are like, no matter what, I could do it cheaper at home. I'm not talking about those people. I'm talking about the rest of us who are like, do value learning and do value and, truly enjoying this stuff. Yeah, I think it's super cool. Cleaning my pistols and other like products is relaxing. I agree, man. I agree. I haven't been to the range in like a month, and I it sucks. It's like I'm like sitting here I'm looking over there going, nothing's even dirty because I just haven't even taken it. But yeah, you should buy a winder from StewMac. If you buy a winder from StewMac, I would also suggest there's a link in the description, I think, tonewinder.es, and use code DTT. The user interface on the Tonewinder winders is so cool. Touchscreen. We just did a video on the CNC one, but I also have the manual one that is about the same price as the Mojotone one, and I think you'd really dig that too. Check it out. Oh my gosh, they are so cool. I've got the manual one here, and we're about to do a video on that one too. So as soon as we get the video shot and up, maybe later this week or early next week, you'll see that. Super cool, man. But yes, I 100% agree. Get a winder and try it. Don't cheap out on parts there either. The whole thing that brought this whole subject up was people in the comments talking about making sewing machines into winders. Don't do that. Don't do that. Here's the thing about tools. Okay, so now let's talk about tools a little bit. You can build tools. You can find substitutions for tools. You can do that stuff. But it's just like anything else. How much do you want to enjoy it? Or how much do you want to tinker with? Like, do you want to get to the result and actually learn the thing and have a thing that works? Or do you want to do the entire process? If you're a person who says, I want to vertically manufacture this thing all myself. I want to make the machine. Then I want to learn the machine. Then I want to make the product. I want to do all of it, and I want to vertically manufacture it myself. Then go to StewMac and buy that winder that comes in a bunch of pieces and build that. I guess Chris at Highline Guitars has a pretty cool plan set for a winder. I've never used it myself, but I trust what Chris at Highline does. He's a pretty cool dude, and he knows what he's talking about. So, but maybe besides that one, don't get in a forum and be like, okay, how can I make a sewing machine into a... Don't do that. My very first winder was a sewing machine. It lasted one day. And I was like, you know what? It's not smooth enough. It's not fast enough. It's not controllable enough. The motor is too... there's not enough feel in the motor. It doesn't work right. It's too many amps. You need a more precise piece of equipment with a little more feel, a little more finesse than a sewing machine to really do this properly. And I know people do it, but the right tools make the experience better. And if you want to learn something, then get something that somebody else has already sussed out all of those problems. If you want to engineer something, engineer it, but realize that it is going to taint your experience with the actual making of a pickup, for example. If you want to make a bunch of jigs to build a neck, if you want to make a bunch of jigs to fret your guitar or to refret your guitar, just know that if your jigs aren't 100% right, it is now tainting your experience and you're making it harder on yourself to actually learn the thing. It's the same thing with making pickups. It makes it harder on you if the machine doesn't cooperate the way you want it to, act the way you want it to. And if you have a good one, like a Mojotone winder or I guess the little Shatten is okay too, but it's really, really super light duty. Super light duty. Or this tonewinder.es one that from Spain. They just they make it easier to not learn how to wind pickups, but it takes that variable out of it where you're just not like, okay, does this actually suck? And is this really hard? Or is this the machine fighting me? You know what I mean? It's like having a sucky guitar. Like you don't want to give a little kid a Glary because the thing sucks and they'll never want to play it. Give them something good. That way they can learn how to play something good and they're not fighting themselves. So don't let if you're doing some DIY stuff, don't fight yourself with tools that suck. That's why, doing fret work, like buy a Z file from StewMac. Yes, it's $100, but you'll have it forever and you will be able to crown frets in like 10 minutes. It will pay for itself the very first time. You'll go, oh my God, I cannot believe this is what happens. Everybody belly aches about how much stuff costs until they try it the first time. Once they try it the first time, they go, oh dang. Okay, yes. Now I know why. Now, if you're an actual, insightful, if you're one of those cantankerous morons in the comments who like constantly complains about everything and finds a reason to argue about everything and takes the fun out of a hobby that should be fun for everyone, then, we're not talking to you right now. We're talking to the reasonable among us who are like, oh yeah, my buddy told me I should get one of these and I got it and he's right. It's good. Because most of us are like that, I think. Yeah. Let's see. I'm going to scroll back here and just see. I bought Music Lily tuners and they broke the strings. Let's see. It's all in the magical tone wood. That's funny. Good tools are a must. Do you think the capacitor can make much difference in tone? If you pick the right value, it will make a big difference. Don't worry so much about what they're made of or any of that kind of stuff. The other thing I would check on a capacitor is they have a tolerance letter on them, and I believe J is 10% or 5%. I go in the alphabet, it's obviously A through Z, and higher numbers or higher letters in the alphabet are worse tolerances. So I do anything J and lower tolerance, and then just pick the correct, value for what you want. And then, yeah, that'll make a big difference. I wouldn't necessarily worry about, don't spend $15-$20 for a capacitor if you don't want to. Like, don't worry about that. We sell some paper and oil capacitors here, but we don't actually sell that many of them. Most people stick with the orange drop Spragues that we have because they're really good and they're not expensive, and they're within the lower tolerances that work really well. Oh man. FedEx was supposed to bring me a package from Sweetwater that I was going to show you today, and it looks like I think they brought it to the nearest Walgreens. So stupid. Anyway, let's see what else we got going in here. Ooh, import duty is 200%. Yeah, that's tough. Some countries make it difficult. They really do make it difficult. I shipped somewhere this morning, and that theirs is only 20%, but I was like, dang, that's still a lot. If someone makes the proper tool for the job, it's well worth the cost, unless maybe you are only going to use it once. Yeah, so that's the thing. I always tell people, if you have a guitar or if you have more than one guitar, let's say you have 3 or 4, then if you have one guitar, maybe it's maybe not worth it. But if you have 3 or 4, then it starts to get into worth it land, as far as buying, like good tools, because then you start, using the stuff enough to, if you try to use Harbor Freight Allen keys, you start to wear them out, and, that kind of thing, because um, they just, they don't last very well. And you start to use them a little bit more. I think that's probably part of my tool obsession is I do this every day, right? And so um, I have some cheaper tools that I use for certain things, but I don't use cheap tools on, I don't use cheap tools on good guitars, but I also don't use cheap tools on cheap guitars either. Cheap guitars are actually can kind of be worse because the metal is worse. People always talk about that, like this guitar is just as good as that one. No, it ain't. The screws are Swiss cheese on this stuff. Like if you don't do it perfectly correct and adjust the saddles incorrectly one time, the screws are all stripped out. They're garbage. So you gotta watch that stuff. So you gotta have good tools so that you don't ruin your guitar. Don't harbor freight your pickups. Exactly. If you're on a budget, definitely save up for any specialized tools. You can get by with a cheaper screwdriver easier than a bad specialized tool. That's a good point, Scott. And we just did a video about this specialized tools for guitars, and Amazon fret rockers suck. Amazon fret straight edges suck. I've bought all this stuff many, many times to try to make videos about it. And a lot of the stuff I've thrown in the trash or returned because, yes, measuring tools, especially when we are talking about trying to be accurate and repeatable, measuring tools are important. Meters that, digital multimeters that work well. People belly ache and belly ache and belly ache about the nut height gauge with the little digital nut height gauge that costs $100. But if you want repeatable results, I can do a better setup than you can with your eyeballs and feeler gauges. I'll put $100 on it. I will, because I know I can do it better than you. And it's not me, it's the tool. The tool makes it to where you can be more accurate. And it's super important. And the thing about accuracy is not even necessarily the accuracy. Most of us who have been playing guitar for any amount of time, most of us can take a bunch of tools, and by feel, you can get your guitar to feel the way you want it, because feel is the most important, right? So you might say that feel is almost more important than numbers. But when you want to repeat that on another guitar, then numbers become very important. And so good measuring tools, good straight tools, anything that needs to be straight needs to be straight. I have had to work on this is with no exception, I've had to work on every Amazon tool I've ever bought. Fret rockers, or any of that stuff that is supposed to be straight is not straight. Or it'll have like water jet edge marks on it that will make it to where it won't be perfect. Like, if you're doing frets, you got to have straight tools. You know what I mean? So yeah, super important. Which brand sells quality tools? For guitar stuff, StewMac. And the lifetime warranty, man. And I tell you what, after this last pickup winder situation, I had a Mojotone pickup winder quit on me, and it's not even a StewMac product. It's a Mojotone product, but I bought it at StewMac 2 years ago, and they know who I am. They know that I've wound thousands of pickups on this machine, and they're like, "Yeah, no problem. Send it back." What happened with the pickup winder StewMac was giving away around Christmas? I don't know. Somebody bought that, apparently, or somebody got that, I think. It would be nice if there was something like AutoZone, but for guitars, where you could rent specialized tools. I feel like I could take on any job with the right tools, but I'm hesitant to invest in some. Chris, that's an interesting concept. So let's think about that. So we just did this video on specialized tools that you need to do guitar stuff. Honestly, I would say for $300, you can get anything you needed to do most stuff. The fret end dressing file from StewMac is under $20. Get that thing. Get a Z file. Get a good straight edge and get a fret rocker. And I think with those things, you can do pretty much any basic guitar setup and even some more serious stuff. And maybe a sanding beam, you know? So with that stuff and a roll of masking tape, now you can do a fret job. You know, not a replace, but you could do a level and crown and do it properly. And I would say under $300, you would be able to do all the fret stuff. You'd be able to do all the bridge stuff. The nut height gauge is really sick too, but let's face it, we don't have to work on nuts that often. People want to talk about, and even frets, honestly, I have to have stainless steel frets on everything because I wear them out. I'm like, do you only play one guitar like all the time? Like, I mean, you're not Stevie Ray Vaughan. I have enough guitars that I can spread it around, so I don't worry about it. And I know most of you do too. If you have 2 guitars, you're not going to wear out your frets in 6 months. So I wouldn't worry about that. Unless you're cheap and you buy really cheap guitars, then you will wear out your frets. How bad is the pickup market for fakes? And do you have any advice on a newbie buying from, say, eBay? Don't buy from eBay. Don't. Buy from somebody reputable. Don't do that. Don't feed that machine. And if it takes you, buy from me, buy from Lawler, buy from Tim McNally, buy from Seymour Duncan, buy from DiMarzio. And if you say, I can't afford it, save up your pocket change for another 6 months. Just be patient with yourself. And, skip 1 beer a week at the bar or skip 1 cup of coffee at Starbucks, a week or whatever. And give yourself 6 months and save up if you got a telly, it's $200 for a really good set of pickups. Don't buy it on eBay. Don't buy it on eBay. There is a lot of garbage out there for sure. And just don't do it. Don't do it. I think people want to save money so bad that they cost themselves the experience. I hate that for people. And I know that people look at me and say, oh, he's such a snob about that. And it's not I'm a snob about it. It's I hate that you would go and be cheap about something or impatient because you think you're saving money and then cost yourself the experience. And if you don't like me because of what I say about it, don't buy it from me. Go buy it from Jason Lawler. Go buy it from somebody else. But no matter what, get something good. You don't have to buy it from me. If you don't like me, that's okay. I'm just telling you, don't shortchange your experience in this hobby by trying to buy something on eBay. My thought with the rental idea is there are things that I'll only use once or twice and then we'll end up buying, but I wish I didn't have to. There, you know what though? A straight edge, a fret rocker, even the nut height gauge. Once you have them, you will use them. You will use them much more than you realize. Because here's the thing too. I think a lot of us don't touch our guitars enough. Like we don't work on it. You can overwork on your guitar, right? Like your guitar doesn't actually move around that much. However, if you have a few guitars, like I said, if you have 3 or 4, it is definitely worth buying those tools because you're going to use those tools. If you have 4 of them, you're going to use them 8 times a year, at least. And I don't think you need much more than that. You don't need to get into the big stuff. And all the fancy files and all that stuff. Maybe a set of nut files, but man, people just don't go through nuts that much. You know, I think you'll end up using it more than you think. Once you have a tool that you understand how it works and the value of it, you will want to put that tool to use, which means that you will, it's like me with knives, right? I have like 3 or 4 different ways to sharpen stuff. And now that I know that I have them, there is not one dull knife in my house ever. Like I never have a dull knife because I enjoy knowing that I can correct that problem. So once you have the tool, you will find reasons to use it. And again, none of this stuff is so specialized that you only use it once. I can't think of anything. And I have most of the stuff. Like the StewMac stuff. I use it. I use all of it. My Fender nut slotting file from StewMac is what comes to mind. Nut slotting files to me are the thing that I think people would use the least because you just don't use them as much as you think you would. There's no reason that nuts really should wear out on a guitar that's 15 years old, unless you're gigging it every weekend. You could wear out a nut, I suppose, but yeah. Do you like brass saddles better than steel? I don't care. I don't care brass saddles or steel. Whatever's in the guitar when I get it, I'm usually happy with that. I am not a person who says every guitar needs to have brass saddles. It's more traditional, blah, blah, blah. I have a American Vintage 2 Telly, and it's got steel in it, and I love it. I have a full set of nut files. I think I've used a couple of sizes once or twice, but I was glad I had them when I needed them. Yeah, that's one of those things, man. I don't need to invest in a plug machine. What, you don't have butter knives? My butter knives are serrated, actually, and they are pretty sharp. I have serrated butter knives and I have unserrated steak knives. Did you know you're not supposed to have serrated steak knives? Let's see. StewMac is good, but you can also buy great tools from Crimson Guitars out of England. Do they have a lifetime warranty? That guy's not as cool to me as StewMac is. So sorry to be off topic. It's not off topic. I bought a Kramer 84 Beretta Diver Down model. The pickup is set and not adjustable. Are there humbuckers that don't have legs on the base plate? Yes. I can make you a flat bottom humbucker if you want. That's no problem. We have a set of phenolic humbucker base plates that we can use for that. Yeah, it's not a problem at all. Really, why not serrated steak knives? Because when you cut the meat, you should not be the meat should be cut, not torn. Serrations tear the fibers in the meat. It will change the way the meat tastes. Same thing with vegetables. Anything that is cellular in nature, when you cut it, if you cut it with something serrated, it will tear the cells and it will, now we're really getting into the weeds here, but it will mix chemicals more or less. And so if you cut with a very sharp knife, something not serrated, the meat will taste better. If you are a person who can tell the difference, it's a thing. Yeah. Yeah, man. We don't have any flat bottom humbuckers on the website. Oh, actually, we do. No, we don't. Just go to Dylan Talks Tone and hit the little chat thing and tell me what you want, and I'll make you any of our models with a flat bottom. I don't mind. I'll do that for you. What would cause the two separate bobbins of a humbucker to be raised in the middle, forming a peak? I have a set from you, and I can't get them to flatten out. Whoa. Sounds like something got over tightened, maybe. That's interesting. Send me a picture of that, Rusty, if you would. Email me a picture of that, and maybe we can figure out what the problem is there. Sounds like something got over tightened, maybe. My Ibanez had a 3-way switch with 9 lugs on the bottom and the humbucker split coils wired into it. Have you seen that before? Yeah. Yeah. I have seen that. What company makes the worst sounding bridge telly pickups? I don't like to say bad things about companies unless an actual person at a company has been a jerk to me for some reason, but I don't really. The thing about it is when you think about worst, there's a lot of people, even in this chat today, some folks appreciate different qualities about various guitars, and different skill levels appreciate different things too. So when you first start playing guitar and you're modding stuff for the very first time, what you think is awesome, which is great. I might not think it's awesome because I hear something different because I've been doing it a long time and with a different mindset of how I approach things. So I might just feel differently, but that doesn't make your guitar bad. It just makes a guitar that I wouldn't choose. It's no big deal. And as you continue to refine your skills and you learn more and you get more of an ear for stuff, then you start to want to make different choices. Or maybe you don't. Maybe you like it like that. It doesn't matter. None of it matters. The only thing that annoys me is when you get all the people who are like, this cheap piece of crap is just as good as your Les Paul, and your Les Paul isn't as better than my blah, blah. All that stuff drives me insane. It's so stupid. It's just such a dumb argument. I like what I like, and I like nice stuff. End of story. I don't understand why guitar players constantly have to make everything about two things: money and tone. I don't understand it because there's so much more to a guitar than tone. You're not going to want to play it if you think it's ugly. You're not going to want to play it if it's too heavy. You're not going to want to play it if it doesn't feel good. You're not going to want to play it if it doesn't balance right. There's all kinds of reasons besides tone where a guitar can be cool. And then there's also cool, because cool stuff is cool just because it's cool. Why can't stuff just be cool? Why can't you like stuff that is cool? And now the money. Everybody wants to be so tied up with money. It has to be cheaper. I can't afford it. Blah, 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 blah. I don't care what you can afford. Okay? There's a lot of stuff I can't afford either. But I don't go around saying that 911 is not worth it because I can't afford it. Or my Audi is just as good as that 911 because I can't afford it. I don't say that. I just see something cool and go, that thing is cool. That 911 is very cool. Why can't a person with a Harley Benton say, Les Pauls are cool? Why can't they say that? It's like impossible. I don't understand it. Super ranty about that today. If you've been on my Facebook, you know why. Probably over tightened because you gave me some help swapping magnets around. So I had to loosen them and probably over tighten them. I'll try to loosen them up. Oh, that's exactly what you did. So the way our pickups are made is the the wire comes in one end and it goes underneath one of the bobbins. And probably what happened on the slug side, it's probably on the slug side, is the slug side bobbin is over tightened a little bit. That would be my guess. The screw side sits on a little bar. But on the slug side, it's possible that you over tightened it and it came a little. Okay, so you swapped mag. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah. If you need more help with that, let me know. I don't mind. I need a set of your pickups for a TTG PRS class, P90 neck and the humbucker bridge. Can I email you? Just order them, dude. That sounds awesome. P90 neck and a humbucker bridge. Do a P90 in the neck and or an Enduro, which is a humbucker size, and do a Super 8 in the bridge. That's what I would do if I was you. Just order them. Use the Texas Toast code. You know what it is. Is it true that more windings on a pickup create a warmer sound? No. I mean, no, not really. You can. There's so many factors to that, right? The height of the coil, the width of the coil, the thickness of the wire, the thickness of the insulation on the wire, the strength of the magnet, the location of the magnet in relation to the center of the coil, all that stuff all matters, and it all kind of pushes and pulls on each other. So when you're designing a pickup, you kind of have to go through all of that stuff and make all those adjustments and kind of get where you want. So it kind of all matters. Yeah. I hope that everybody wants to mod guitars. I mean, that's obviously what we're in the business of doing, is helping people mod guitars. But I think there's a certain way to look at it, where it's an investment. You are investing in your guitar. You are investing in yourself because you are learning a skill. You are investing in yourself because you're acquiring tools, and you are learning a trade, really, when you do this. So this is not about the cheapest way to fix my guitar. Like some people will say to me, I'll just kind of give you this at the end. Some people will say to me, well, you're so hard on, the Harley Benton guys, and they're just as good as guys and all that stuff, but they're the ones that buy your pickups. No, they're not really. They're the ones that buy GFS pickups. We make a premium product here at Dylan Talks Tone. All of our stuff is high-end stuff. So what I care about is not the guy who's trying to do it for the cheapest. I care about the guy that wants to better his guitar playing experience. In a few ways. One, because he wants to learn, because he wants to get better at it. Two, because he wants to literally acquire a skill. I think that's really cool because you're acquiring a skill when you do this. And three, that he cares about the end result, right? Like, you want the product to be good. You want your playing experience to be good. You want your guitar to be cool. So that's why you buy stuff at Dylan Talks Tone. You're not doing it because you want to be the cheapest. You're not doing it because you want to save money. You're not doing it. No, you are trying to better yourself as a human being in a bunch of different ways. It's deeper than just the guitar. Like, you are becoming a better person because you are like investing in yourself to do this. And that's the mentality that I take when I do this stuff, because I just think, everything we do, it contributes to us, being cool. Like, you are all super cool because you're here and we're learning all this stuff and we're talking about it and having a sane conversation on the internet. That's like impossible to do these days. And here we are doing it, so it's really, really cool. So I'm good enough. I'm smart enough. And gosh darn it, people like me. That's from Saturday Night Live. When you realize that you can't screw things up beyond repair, the fear of doing your own work and mods goes away. It does. Which of your pickups sounds would nail EVH? Probably our center punch would get the closest on that. That I would say. Yep. Oh, and it's 5 o'clock. I've got to run too. You guys, this has been great. Thanks for hanging out and being a part of the conversation today. Continue to chat in the comments, and we will see you tomorrow. I should have something to unbox. We'll see you later.